Management 7160 Global Strategic Management, Team 2's Analysis of the Boeing Company. Boeing Company Overview. Boeing Company was established in 1916 by William Boeing in Seattle, Washington as Aero Products Company. In 1929, the company was renamed United Aircraft and Transport Corporation, and in 1961, the company shortened its name to the current Boeing Company. In September 2001, Boeing Company moved its headquarters to Chicago, Illinois. Currently, Boeing is the largest aerospace company in the world and is currently being led by Dennis Muhlenberg and has 153,027 employees globally. Boeing is currently engaged in the design, development, manufacturing, sale, and support of commercial jetliners, military aircraft, satellites, weapons, electric and defense systems, launch systems, and advanced information and communication systems. Along with the sale and manufacture of these products, Boeing also provides performance-based logistics and training for their products as well as support services for the commercial airline industry. Boeing has four main business units. Their initial business unit was and still is commercial airplanes, which was started in 1916. In 1975, they added aerospace defense airplanes. And then in 1976, Boeing entered the space shuttle industry. In 2006, Congress awarded Boeing a contract for the technology component of its Secure Border Initiative. Global Services, which was added in 2017, is Boeing's newest business unit and is focused on innovative services in engineering, digital aviation, and analytics, as well as supply chain logistics and training support. With Boeing adding this Global Services unit, it makes Boeing a full circle comprehensive aerospace company with cost competitive solutions regardless of the original equipment manufacturer so its customers can reduce costs, drive efficiency, and optimize operations. Boeing's organizational focus is to be the best in aerospace and continue to be a global industrial champion by connecting, protecting, exploring, and inspiring the world through innovation. They have several values that they operate by: integrity, quality, safety, and diversity and inclusion, trust and respect, corporate citizenship, and stakeholder success. Boeing strives to take the high road at all times by practicing the highest ethical standards and honoring their business commitments by being accountable for their successes and failures. They take quality and continuous improvement very seriously and aim to exceed their stakeholder standards of excellence. In doing so, Boeing values human life and handles all incidents, injuries, and workplace illnesses very seriously. They also strive to foster a collaborative workplace that engages all employees in finding solutions for their customers that advances their common business objectives with openness and inclusion. The following slide is a representative list of their Vision 2025 goals, some of which include design and manufacturing excellence, market leadership, and efficient productivity. To be in step with these goals, Boeing has developed a set of organizational principles that guides their business decisions every day. Boeing strives to lead with courage and passion, treat customers' priorities as their own by investing in their employees and fostering a supportive workplace environment, collaborating with other companies and with candor and honesty while dominating the market using manufacturing speed, agility, and scale. Boeing does all of this so as to deliver marketplace results with excellence and accuracy. Here is a snapshot of Boeing's industry portfolio. Boeing's fiscal year follows the calendar year and has grown by 10.25% since 2014, despite having sales declines in 2016 and 2017. Their cost of goods sold growth has increased by 16.54% since 2014, with a gross income growth of 28.67% comparatively between 2014 and 2018. Boeing's stock snapshot as of June 30th, 2019 is listed here. While Boeing stock prices have ranged between $292 and $446 on average a share, the company has seen a market yield of 2.26%.
Now, we'll cover a SWOT analysis of Boeing. We'll start with their environmental opportunities and threats. Boeing's most tangible opportunity comes in the way of a growing international airline industry. Industry experts predict both short-term and long-term increases in demand across Asia, North America, South America, Europe, Africa, and the Pacific Islands. Bombardier, a competitor of Boeing, estimates that per-unit demand for 60 to 150-seat commercial airliners will grow a staggering 105% over the next 15 years. Boeing's industry forecasts are even more optimistic. Per their 2018 Industry Outlook report, the firm expects the commercial airline industry to grow an additional 2.5 times between now and 2038. The industry as a whole has seen 9 straight years of steady, above-trend growth. While the estimates vary, it seems that everyone involved does agree that this growth trend will continue for the foreseeable future. Their second opportunity is increasing demand in aerospace and defense. While it's difficult to find exact details behind Boeing's aerospace and defense offerings, per a June 17, 2019 press release made at the Paris Air Show, Boeing estimates that the global aerospace and defense market will grow from $8.1 trillion to $8.7 trillion over the next decade. Boeing also estimates $2.5 trillion in defense opportunities as governments look to modernize military platforms and systems as well as pursue new technologies and capabilities. At the same Paris Air Show, Boeing's CFO was quoted as saying, "Aerospace and defense continues to be a healthy and growing industry over the long term, boosted by strong fundamentals across commercial, defense, and service sectors, and demand that is geographically diverse and more balanced between replacement and growth than ever before. One thing is clear, strong demand across all of Boeing's service lines bodes well for current and future opportunities." The first threat we'll cover is intense competition. The commercial airline and defense industries are both highly competitive. Intense competition across all product lines has the potential to erode market share and decrease the firm's margins. In the commercial airline industry, Boeing is forced to contend with powerhouses such as Airbus, Embraer, Bombardier, and new smaller market entrants from Russia, China, and Japan. In the defense and aerospace segment, Boeing's most notable competes with Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, and General Dynamics. Across 2 of their major industries, defense and commercial aircraft, Boeing's top competitors all feature strong engineering, manufacturing, and marketing capabilities. The level of competition means that Boeing cannot guarantee sustained success. New innovation by one of its competitors, in either industry, has the ability to quickly cut into Boeing's revenues. Second major threat is that they're highly dependent on U.S. political policies. Boeing is highly dependent on these U.S. political policies for myriad reasons, from the government's willingness to spend on defense and space travel to the implementation of tariffs and a potential trade war with China. The U.S. legislature can cut into Boeing's profitability with the stroke of a pen. For example, Boeing realized close to $12 billion of revenue from commercial airline sales to China in 2017. Boeing co-founded China's first airplane manufacturer and has even had its headquarters visited by every Chinese head of state since 1971. As tensions rise between the two nations, particularly as it relates to trade, Boeing could potentially face decreasing demand in one of its largest markets and increasing costs as Chinese supplies are taxed. Open trade and globalization are hallmarks of Boeing's operations. As international trade barriers rise and political relationships devolve, Boeing's sales and supply chain could be totally ravished through no fault of their own. We'll move to Boeing's strengths and weaknesses. Boeing is committed to research and development. It is a hallmark of the industry, and it is undoubtedly one of the firm's many strengths. Between 2015 and 2018, the firm invested over $11.1 billion in R&D activities. R&D expenditures go towards the design, development, and testing of new defense systems, new jet aircraft, including commercial and military, advanced space travel, and other company-sponsored product and component developments. Boeing's commitment to research has allowed them to become an industry leader in autonomous aviation systems, the development of durable, lightweight materials, and the capture of in-flight analytics, just to name a few. Boeing holds in excess of 15,600 patents and operates 11 R&D centers that span the entire globe. Their next major strength is their large market share, and I'm going to combine this with their financial outcomes. Boeing is an extremely successful company, coming in at number 24 on the 2018 Fortune 500 and number 64 on the Fortune Global 500. Up until Q2 2019, the firm has been consistently profitable and a blue-chip investment. Per a Forbes article published in February 2019, Boeing owns approximately 40% of the global commercial aircraft market share. These consistently strong financial outcomes mean that the firm can continue to invest in new business growth, innovation, and the capture of additional domestic and global market share across its commercial airline and defense product lines. Their next major strength is their diverse product portfolio. The firm services the commercial airline industry, the defense industry, and the aerospace industry. A quick trip to their website summarizes an array of products used the world over: an Apache attack helicopter, the B-2 bomber, the F-22 Raptor fighter jet, and even the International Space Station, all credited to Boeing. This product diversification affords the firm numerous income streams and mitigates the risk associated with the failure of a single product or product line. If all that Boeing did was make commercial airlines, they would undoubtedly be in a tough spot right now. Fortunately for Boeing, they're not limited to a single product or even a single industry. Their product portfolio is a major strength and arguably keeping them afloat right now. Their first major weakness is their large dependence on subcontractors and suppliers. Suppliers, contractors, subcontractors are all needed for Boeing to produce raw materials, subassemble components, provide production commodities, and the list goes on. If one supplier experiences a delivery delay or has performance problems, Boeing's ability to meet demand is limited. Boeing assists and supports its suppliers and contractors, but it does not have complete control of its suppliers and subcontractors. Any service disruption along its supply chain can mean an inability to satiate demand, an increase in operating costs, and ultimately a hit to its profitability. This isn't an uncommon weakness in today's business environment. In a way, it might be one that goes without saying, but it's important to mention nonetheless. Their dependence on third parties is definitely a weakness. I'm also going to group the final three weaknesses together: negative trend in liquidity ratios, increasing liabilities, and high pension spending. At the end of 2018, Boeing's pension and benefit liabilities were at approximately $75 billion. The amount of funds needed to cover its commitments to its former/retired workforce drastically slashes the firm's incomes. At the end of 2017, Boeing's current ratio was 1.1, lower than almost all of its nearest competitors. From 2016 to 2017, the firm saw a 49% increase in its total liabilities. The two are related. The reality is that Boeing competes in a profitable but expensive arena. The firm spends a lot, carries a lot of debt, and is hovering around a 1.0 solvency ratio, meaning that they're just barely able to cover their short-term liabilities. Despite their continued financial success, these financial shortcomings have to be addressed.
Hello, my name is Osama El Hamarna, and I will be covering Boeing's business strategy. The first business strategy I will discuss is cost leadership, which Boeing has achieved in a number of ways. First, by their economies of scale. The market share between Boeing and Airbus dominates the industry, so much so that the industry is considered a duopoly. This means that the operations at Boeing is massive and can therefore exploit economies of scale. This is vital in an industry plagued by extremely high fixed costs of developing aircraft, approximately $15 billion for modern aircraft. Airplane manufacturers must capture significant market share in order to justify the risk associated with investing this large amount of capital. The minimum efficient scale of production is large to the global demand. Many observers believe that the most efficient industry structure for commercial jet aircraft can only profitably support 2 to 3 players. As stated earlier, Boeing also has multiple business segments, which produces both commercial and military jets, which enables them to amortize some of its R&D costs over both type of aircraft, thereby reducing the average cost of each. Learning curve economies are significant in this industry. Studies show that costs fall by about 20% every time cumulative production of a model is doubled. The fact that Boeing and Airbus have proven track records and demonstrated their ability to effectively design and produce very safe, cost-efficient, reliable aircraft cannot be underestimated. The next business strategy to discuss is Boeing's attempt in product differentiation. Firstly, by differentiating on product features. However, in this area, Boeing and Airbus have both been competing and duplicating each other very heavily. Airbus initially entered the industry in the 1970s, seeking to compete against the well-established Boeing by using more advanced technology. One specification manufacturers compete and differentiate on is the percentage of composite materials used. Composites are lighter than metal and reduces weight in airplanes, which leads to substantial fuel savings and a more cost-effective airplane. In the 1980s, Airbus was able to produce and introduce into the market the digital fly-by-wire controls into an airliner in the A320 to be specific. This was imitated quickly by Boeing. However, they differentiated themselves by allowing the pilots to completely override the computerized flight control system. The competitive strength in the market of any airliner is considerably influenced by the choice of engine available. In general, commercial airliners prefer a choice of at least 2 engines from major manufacturers like GE, Rolls-Royce, Pratt & Whitney. However, engine manufacturers, of course, would prefer to be single-sourced and often succeed in striking commercial deals with Boeing and Airbus to achieve this. The competition between Boeing and Airbus on engines inevitably led to the Boeing issue, which we'll be discussing later. It goes without saying the product complexity in this industry is extremely high. However, competitors often compete on how well they simplify this complexity. When it comes to timing of product introduction, being first to market in this industry leads to short-term competitive advantages. In fact, Boeing was first to put a human on the moon in partnership with NASA. They built the 36-story Saturn V. Its first liftoff was in 1967, lifted the Apollo 11 mission that allowed astronaut Neil Armstrong to become the first human to touch the moon. They were also the first to build the jumbo jet in reaction to increased demand for commercial air transport with the development of the 747. They developed the F-15, which was the first U.S. fighter with enough thrust to accelerate vertically and broke several time-to-climb records. In the 1970s, they developed a state-of-the-art technology for radars, sensor, target acquisition, and night vision systems used in the Apache helicopter. It includes an integrated sighting system, a connection between helmets and weapon systems that allowed pilots and gunners to shoot wherever their gaze was directed. Boeing participated in virtually every phase of the U.S. space program. In 1981, they developed the world's first reusable spacecraft, the Space Shuttle Orbiter, which was fundamental to the construction of the International Space Station. The CST-100 Starliner is the first reusable capsule that will transport crew to and from the International Space Station and may one day be open to paying passengers. Air travel closer to Earth is continuing to advance as well. Boeing's 787 Dreamliner was developed to accommodate continuing growth in demand for air travel as well as the needs of the environment, offering more space to customers while consuming 20% less fuel than comparably sized planes. After its first flight in 2009, the Dreamliner reached 1,000 orders faster than any airplane in human history. Boeing customizes their products to their customers' needs. Boeing paints the exterior of the planes and creates the interior and adds the seats according to the airline's needs. Boeing Business Jets brings the best of commercial aviation into the realm of private air travel, offering customers a wide range of Boeing products that can be uniquely customized for the private, business, or governmental sectors. Product reputation is vital in this industry. Boeing and Airbus planes have stood the test of time. All else being equal, customers are more likely to prefer the products of incumbents rather than those of potential new entrant where quality and reliability are less assured. When it comes to linkages among functions within a firm, one of Boeing's visions is the enterprise strategy to operate as one Boeing. One Boeing is critical to meeting customer expectations and leveraging Boeing's portfolio of products, services, intellectual capital, and their people. Next is Boeing's linkages with other firms. Boeing has occasionally formed teams with other competitors to address specific customer requirements. Next is a strategy relating to product mix. Boeing and Airbus both produce families of aircraft with different seating configurations and range. By serving all available niches of demand, these aircraft families effectively make it difficult for a new potential rival to find an underserved market niche. Next is the strategy relating to distribution channels. Since Boeing is a manufacturer of a product, their distribution channel is very short. Boeing manufactures the planes and sells them directly to various aviation service providers such as Air France. Aviall is a Boeing-owned subsidiary that specializes in parts distribution for the aerospace industry. They have 40 global locations, 1,500 employees, 250 OEM suppliers, and they utilized a network of over 500 OEM authorized repair sources. They focus on 5 foundational brand pillars, which are quality service, product availability, strategic locations, advanced technology, and innovative solutions. Finally, Boeing tries to differentiate themselves by their service and support. First, they focus on engineering, modifications, and maintenance. They aim to optimize fleet performance and maintenance operations. Boeing helps their customers get the most out of every air mile, from providing the technical information and expertise to managing their fleet and operations to delivering engineering and maintenance services to help their customers' operation running smoothly. Second, they focus on their supply chain and delivering the one part their customers need precisely when they need it. There are more than 3 million parts in a Boeing airplane, but at the critical moment, a customer may only care about the one part preventing takeoff. They give their customers instant access to the industry's most advanced distribution network, so they get the Boeing parts they need when and where they are needed, all to keep their customers, to help their customers' airplanes where they want them, in the air. They provide training and professional services, helping meet global demand for qualified and competent aviation personnel. They provide innovative training products and services for pilots, technicians, and flight crews throughout their careers. They provide digital solutions and analytics, data-driven solutions to complete today's mission and prevent tomorrow's issues. The right information at the right time allows airlines to operate at peak efficiency in the air, on the ground, and in the hangar. Add in the power of data analytics to identify the correct potential issues before they become problems. Finally, they provide 24/7 customer support, world-class customer support anywhere, anytime. Boeing's worldwide infrastructure supports airline schedules, resolves technical difficulties, provides quick access to technical information, and delivers vital products and services when and where they are needed. Boeing's leadership intends to run Boeing as a business that has the flexibility to move capital and talent to the opportunities that maximize shareholder value. The primary ways they achieve this flexibility is from the option to grow and the option to defer. With the option to grow, their primary factory is in Everett, Washington. However, they have opened a secondary plant in Charleston in 2013. This plant level loads the design and manufacturing for a few popular Boeing airplanes such as the 737 MAX and the 787 Dreamliner. Boeing uses the option to contract in two ways. First, by using independent contractors, and second, by subcontracting a portion of their operations to third-party vendors. Though there are risks for missed performance specifications, quality standards, and delivery schedules at their anticipated costs, Boeing utilizes these strategies to increase flexibility and scalability. Boeing has utilized these and their ability to capitalize on risk and uncertainty to remain successful in their business for a long period of time, really since the beginning of the aviation industry. Although Boeing does use collusive strategies, most notably in strategic alliances, there is very little publicly known use of tacit collusion. One anti-competitive measure Boeing participated in was with a Japanese consortium composed of the three biggest industrial giants of Japan, Mitsubishi, Kawasaki, and Fuji Heavy Industries. These Japanese firms expressed an interest in entering the market for commercial aircraft. Consequently, agreements were signed between Boeing and the Japanese firms. According to the agreements, Boeing would purchase from them the 767X fuselage, the wings, and other components during the 1990s and early 2000s. Another anti-competitive agreement was between Boeing and Lockheed. Although Lockheed exited the commercial aircraft market in 1981, it still possessed the production capability to re-enter and compete with Boeing. Boeing signed a contract with Lockheed to purchase from Lockheed certain parts of commercial aircraft. Subsequently, Lockheed never entered the commercial aircraft market. There are no signs of tacit collusion with their main competitor, Airbus. They seem to be competing fairly on price. Some plane types are priced lower with Airbus. However, Boeing tends to be a cheaper option on most models.
Let's look at the corporate strategy of Boeing. Corporate strategy encompasses vertical integration, diversification, implementing corporate diversification, strategic alliances, merger and acquisitions, and international strategy. Boeing participates in a number of stages of the commercial aircraft supply chain. Boeing's integration strategy is driven by whether it drives competitiveness in future aircraft designs, value creation for its customers, and acceptable risk, to exert greater control over intellectual property, and to avoid delays and cost overruns. It has recently entered a joint venture with seat manufacturer Adient and is making 777 wings and avionics. The plan is to further vertically integrate in various other components of the aircraft, such as engine pylons, face, fan and exhaust cowls, thrust reversers, door and windows, nose fuselage sections, fuel management systems, and flight control computer, to name a few. It also set up a pilot center of excellence in South Carolina. Boeing's diversification can be classified as a related diversification by playing a dominant role in the aerospace industry. They have diversified their portfolio and forayed into missiles, helicopters, satellites, drones, and products in defense and security. Their four main diverse segments can be classified as commercial airplanes, defense, space and security, global services, and Boeing Capital Corporation. 60% of the revenue in 2008 came from commercial airline segment. Let's look at how Boeing implements corporate diversification. Diversification strategies must exploit economies of scope that are not available to the outside investors and competitors to be valuable. The best organizational structure for implementing a diversification strategy is thought to be the multi-divisional or M-form structure, which has several components. Accordingly, these components in Boeing are divided into board of directors, institutional investors, senior executives, corporate staff, division general managers, and shared activity managers. Boeing has a high vertical and horizontal differentiation. High horizontal differentiation is due to the fact that it needs vast requirements to build many complex Boeing products. There's a CEO which oversees all the heads of manufacturing, purchasing, marketing, finance, and human resources. Boeing has a standard corporate structure with 14 board of directors that oversee the current president and CEO, Dennis Muilenburg. Departments are broken out by both major product lines and by standard business departments such as HR and legal. These departments create a high vertical differentiation within the company. Due to their large size and product differentiation, they work with a matrix configuration to maintain and build efficiency. Horizontal structure is further subdivided into smaller units or departments. Each department has a departmental head that oversees that division and all employees in the division. Lower level management reports to the department head, who further reports to CEO, CFO, or COO. This structure works to create individual and specific divisions that oversee specific functions of the organization. Due to the nature of defense industry, Boeing occasionally forms teams with other companies that are competitors in other areas to provide customers with the best mix of capabilities to address specific requirements. Boeing has announced a lot of strategic alliances with different companies. Notable one is they announced a partnership with Aerion for developing next generation supersonic aircraft. DST Group and Boeing also entered a strategic alliance to conduct collaborative research in a range of defense technologies. With Lockheed Martin, it has entered a strategic alliance and formed a company called Hellfire Systems. They're also looking at co-development of F-22 Raptor defense program, alliance to form next generation air transport systems. They've also entered into a strategic alliance with Fujitsu for aircraft maintenance services, with Terma to supply products for 777, H-47, Chinook, and Harpoon missile simulators. Other strategic partners include Siemens, GE, Embraer, Mitsubishi, Turkish Airlines, to name a few. Boeing company has acquired 32 organizations so far. The majority of this acquisition, amounting to 68%, have been done in US. Some of the notable acquisitions and mergers include a joint venture with United Launch Alliance, which has served as the nation's launch service providers with its Delta IV and Atlas V rocket. They have entered into a horizontal merger with Embraer. Boeing expanded its position within the narrow-body aircraft category and became a leader within the regional jet market as a result of this merger. Uh, and they also vertically merged with KLX in May 2018 to expand its presence in supply chain management, which further built upon its acquisition of AVL in 2006. Boeing International was established in 2001 and is responsible for the company's international strategy and operations. Boeing's global reach includes customers in approximately 150 countries and employees and operations in more than 65 countries. Boeing has more than 20,000 suppliers and partners and has 11 research and development centers. It has 16 consortia and 22 joint research centers, and it has entered into a relationship with more than 50 international universities to increase its international reach. This slide shows the global span of Boeing and parts manufactured globally in various countries. It shows how big Boeing is and how much of collaborative effort goes to produce a commercial airline.
Hi, my name is Howard Nguyen, and I'm covering the current Boeing 737 MAX problem. Lion Air Flight 610 was scheduled a regional flight operated by the Indonesia airline Lion Air from Soekarno-Hatta International Airport in Jakarta to Dipati Amin Airport in Penang. But on October 29, 2018, the Boeing 737 MAX 8 operating the route crashed into the Java Sea roughly 12 minutes after departure, killing all 189 passengers and crew. This is the first deadly crash involving the Boeing 737 MAX as well as the deadly crash involving the Boeing 737. About 4 months later, on March 10, 2019, Ethiopia Airline Flight Number 302, the Boeing 737 MAX aircraft which operated the flight crashed near the town of Bisofu 6 minutes after departure, killing all 157 passengers on board. After these crashes, the airline industry around the world starting to ground the Boeing 737 MAX, beginning with Ethiopia Airlines on March 10. China ordered all MAX aircraft ground in the country on March 11. On March 13, Canada received new information suggesting similarity between the crashes in Ethiopia and Indonesia and grounded the aircraft. An hour later, President Trump announced U.S. grounding the planes. The FAA issued an official grounding order, citing the new evidence and acknowledged the possible upset cause for the two incidents. The US, Canadian, and the Chinese regulator oversee a combination of fleet 196 aircraft, nearly half of all 387 airplane delivery. Why MAX? We have to look at 10 years earlier to find out the root cause of the problem. Boeing always faced threat from new competition, new product, and the search for new ground. All the time, it tried to cut cost saving. The event that led to the two fighter crashes was set nearly a decade ago, and the problem started not with Boeing, but with the company our rival Airbus in Europe. Boeing 737 and Airbus A320 are the two main players in the massive market for narrow-body passenger jet. Together, both companies cover nearly half of the world's 28,000 commercial airlines. Both manufacturers are locked in a competitive to make their airplane cheaper for airlines to operate, especially when it comes to jet fuel. For example, in 2018, Southwest Airlines fleet of 751 Boeing 737 burned for a total of 4.6 billion in a year. So a 1% increase in the fuel efficiency would save Southwest Airlines 46 million per year. That is why Airbus and Boeing always tweak their fleet to squeeze single percentage point improve out of them. Then on December 1st, 2010, Airbus shocked the airline industry. It has developed a more efficiency version of A320 called the A320neo. It would burn about 6% less than the new Boeing 737 NG. Of course, everybody loves it. So in the face of the threat from the Airbus A320neo, Boeing needs a solution very quick in a matter of weeks. They would introduce a fourth generation 737 and finish very quick based on the new max of the 737 design. Boeing could save billions of dollars in engineering costs. The engineers start working hoping to compete it after Airbus launched A320neo. There's a few hiccups in order to deliver on time. Since it is based on 737 platform, it will take a lot of work to modify the 46-year-old platform with all the current technology as the A320neo. At the same time, the engineer could not modify it a lot. Per regulation, a pilot can only fly type of aircraft at a time, but the FAA permits different models of the plane with identical design feature to share a common type certificate. So in this case, the 737 3 priority generation have a common type certificate. When the pilot get qualified on one model, they can fly all of them include the new MAX. So Boeing allowed itself 6 years to complete all of this. To compete with the Airbus, it will have to break the one unbreakable law of project management that is developed cycle cannot be cheap, fast, and good. If it fails, Airbus could gain around 35 billion market for a single airplane at least for a decade. That is why Boeing could not afford to fail. 2 years into the development, Boeing promised MAX could be 8% more fuel efficiency than the Airbus A320neo. So Boeing bragged that pilot certificate period of the 737 could switch to the MAX with just 2.5 hours of computer-based training. So between its fuel and training efficiency, the MAX seemed to be a winning prospect for the airline. Before the first actual test airline, Boeing already saw a record-breaking 200 billion worth of MAX. The design problem: to keep the new MAX with the common type certificate as 737, software engineers had to recreate a 40-year-old analog into a digital format. To cut costs further, Boeing also outsourced software development to other countries for as little as $9 an hour. The same developer for an H-1B visa would cost $35 to $40 an hour. There was something else Boeing has not revealed about the 737 MAX. After 8 days after the Lion air crash, Boeing stated that they would like to call attention to an angle of attack failure condition that can occur during manual flight only. In another word, Boeing described that the exact series of the event that brought down the Lion Air. This failure condition would keep happening until and unless the pilot knew and flipped the stop trim switch to cut out. This system was buried deep somewhere within the MAX software, but Boeing only gave very little information to the airline and the pilot. The announcement did not give the system a name or clarify what it was designed to do. It only stated that if an error, it can cause a plane to crash. So finally, Boeing admitted what everyone had feared, something wrong with the brand new 737 MAX. The MAX had a new set of engine called LEAP 1BS. This engine are much more efficiency than the one on the 737 NG, but they're also much heavier and larger. This creates a design problem. The engine on the NG sits only 18 inches off the ground, and mounting the LEAP 1BS in the same spot gave them too little clearance during takeoff. So Boeing placed them further forward and slightly higher on the wing of the MAX. That solution created a regulatory problem. To sell the same type certificate, the FAA required that they need to handle the same way. So this plane debugged with a new anti-start system known as MCAS, Maneuvering Characteristic Augmentation System. To compensate for the problem, it now seems that many pilots were not even made aware that MCAS was active on the plane. According to Boeing, the pilots were on a need-to-know basis about the MCAT, and until the Lion aircraft, Boeing felt that they had need to know. Boeing's goal was to add a system to make the handling feel the same on the MAX as it did on the previous model. But they did not let MAX trainer pilot on the MCAT during the different training course for the airline that took delivery on the first example of the re-engined narrow-body. Boeing also did not include the MAX detail in the flight crew operating manual (APCON). But after all this crash, they admit that they should have done both. Here's the timeline of the MAX problem. From the time the MAX introduced in 2010, it takes roughly about 10 years before the Fed suspend the aircraft. If you can see over here in May 2017, that's the first airline delivered to customer, and it takes roughly about 2 years later, the FAA suspend the MAX. Here's the summary of the MAX problem. As you can see, they have problem with the aerodynamic and the engineering design. The sensors are not dependable at all, and they also cut corner on the software development. And they allow the customer to take the plane without a warning light. They give them as an option. The pilot also don't have the training and the managed log. Finally, the FAA go along with the company that they're supposed to be monitoring.
In this section, we will be discussing our recommendations for the Boeing 737 MAX. Our first recommendation is to fix the issue with outsourcing key software code. This can be done in two ways. First, relying on an in-house software development by expanding Boeing's internal software development team. In fact, some say the cheaper offshore hourly wage equated to more like $80 per hour because of the increased need for supervision and the cost of quality. Second is to continue the use of third-party software developers, however, to further build up their internal software quality control department. The benefit here is that the Indian military and airliners awarded a $22 billion order and included 100 737 MAX 8 jets. This would keep good relations with India and provide access to a market that had previously been dominated by Airbus. Another recommendation is to pursue simplicity over complexity by removing the MCAS and related hardware, and should just increase the height of the plane. Instead, they found a workaround with the MCAS to be able to put the larger engine on the plane. Height adjustment would have been much simpler and much more cost-effective. If this would require additional pilot training, it would be in Boeing's best interest to be fully transparent and work with integrity, which are part of the company's key values. If they decide to keep the MCAS after fixing the software, it should be well documented in the plane's manuals. They should offer free training and wage reimbursement to airliners' pilots. It has been cited that it would only require a modest amount of additional training. Boeing should pay for recertification if the regulators deem that the MAX 8 is as different as the other 737s. The angle of attack sensor should not be optional. It should come as a standard package with all new MAX 8s and should be retrofitted free of charge on all existing MAX 8s. To this point, all core systems should be displayed on Boeing's interfaces for the pilots to know exactly what the airplane is doing. This will be the next level for airplane manufacturers to ensure the future of safe aviation and transparency to pilots. Another recommendation is to hire a third-party auditing firm to audit the relationship between Boeing and the FAA. They could use this vendor to manage the relationship going forward and provide independent oversight. This will ensure compliance, best practice, transparency, and no deception. They should create a executive level position for consumer product safety and quality. This position should be at the same level as a COO to drive ownership, accountability, and responsibility. Incentives should not be on profitability, but instead on quality. They should change the compensation policy for all executives from profit-based stock option and build in the quality metrics instead. Boeing should instill a culture change to encourage employees to speak up when faced with concerns about quality and safety issues. Complaints from employees should be reviewed by leadership. This can be achieved by setting times, places, and structures for employees to raise concerns and should ensure these safety governance forums recur frequently. This will help ingrain this in the company's corporate culture. Boeing can benchmark Toyota as they are world-class in employee-driven quality culture